Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden, this stunningly, amazingly good-looking man right here, ready for the weekend. His name is Tim, and this is Second Legacy, and thank you for stopping by. Today, we have a show that is going to send you into the weekend with a smile. We have got 27 states telling the ATF to go pound sand and then eat dirt. Then we have the Senate sparring between freedom and non-freedom. Then we have a G3 that you are going to want to see. Oh, people, this is how you start a weekend. And with that, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on to help the channel grow and show us that you are digging what we are putting out. And with that, Tim, how are you doing? It's Friday, man. How are you doing?
It is Friday, and we'll see how today's episode plays out. So I guess you could say that the judge is still out on that one.
Bailiff, whack his pee-pee.
Starting off right. Oh, man. You know, I don't know if we can top the episode where we talked about pickles and ding-dongs, but, like, legitimately, it's starting out pretty strong. Pretty strong, Tim. Pretty strong.
Yeah, wow.
So, you know what? I like to say, I really like to bring your expertise in here. Do you want to talk about 27 states just telling the ATF to pound sand and eat dirt, or do you want to get into the Senate sparring? Because, after all, you are the wise one.
Well, I always like it when states tell the federal government to mind their own business, go pound sand. So let's talk about that one, because I haven't seen any of this stuff yet, and I'm kind of curious.
Oh, let's get it. Because this, okay. So let me just read the headline here. This is number one. GOP attorneys general urge ATF to strike its proposed gun control rule. Now, we've seen this a lot because, let's face it, the ATF, Tim, has kind of been on a rule binge recently.
Yes.
I mean,
They've been changing the rules, making laws, and the courts have been smacking them down left, right, and sideways.
They've been busy. It's been a long 2023.
Yeah.
But this is specifically in reference to the new who is a federal licensee and who can sell a gun and who's now a dealer. That's what this is about. So that whole shtick that the ATF used out of the Senate Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. Thank you, John Cornyn and Tom Tillis.
It's almost like the ATF is trying to get itself defunded.
Maybe.
It's kind of like, when these companies go out there and they pump out this really bad content. Disney, I'm not talking about you. And it just kind of, they just can't seem to resist, and they're like cutting their own throats, but that ATF's doing the exact same thing. They keep going out there like, we got this new rule change, court smacks it down. We got another one, court smacks it down. Hey guys, over here, we got this new rule change. It's just, wow.
I mean, technically they are free. So, I mean, like, really, there is no cost to just getting embarrassed all the time, particularly when you have someone like Dettelbach as your director, who that is a whole different can of worms that I don't really want to open up. Dude, that guy doesn't know.
So what do you think about this gun rule? I don't know. That's what we have people at the ATF for.
I got people for that.
Yeah. I don't have to understand the issue. I just have to have people.
Right. Yeah. But the ATF, no, it's okay because we pay Adobe more money to not be searchable. Man, I swear I can't even get into this. Right? Okay. Right. Let's go back to the 27 states, because I said ATF, you said Dettelbach. Oh, it's a thing. All right. Here's number two. Here's what's happening. And this is what I think is really awesome. A coalition of Republican attorneys general and lawmakers from 27 states urged the ATF to strike its proposed gun control rule, calling it arbitrary and capricious violation of the Second Amendment. And that is going to come in a very important way. But do you remember arbitrary and capricious, Tim? Does that strike any bells?
Oh, yeah. We've been using that phrase for quite some time because the ATF it keeps getting called on this stuff. I mean, we were talking about arbitrary and capricious with regards to braces and all sorts of stuff.
Oh, you took your ginkgo today. That's right. That's exactly right. Your ginkgo is showing through. That's exactly what we've seen. We've seen capricious, and what was that other word? Oh, yeah, arbitrary. Yeah, that we've seen that a lot in actual rulings against the ATF and against gun control rules and legislations made from the executive branch, which is unconstitutional. A lot. And it's going to come up in a second. For example, listen to who led this. Then I'm going to show you a quote, because I think this is a very, very good quote. So in a letter dated Thursday, so that was yesterday of the filming of this video, Republican attorneys general Chris Kobach, Brenna Byrd, and Austin Knudsen, Montana, led the demand for immediate withdrawal of the ATF's unconstitutional regulation, arguing the sale of firearms among individuals for profit is protected by the Second Amendment, which it is. They are correct. And it's arbitrary and capricious. Now, this commentary time, Tim, ended yesterday. So I like the timing that they brought this in on, because it's kind of like the public had comment, and then 27 states said, oh, us too.
Right. Yeah.
I like that.
But, ATF could go one of two ways. They could do like government agencies have been doing under this administration, just completely ignore Congress, ignore the will of the people, and just do what they want anyway, which, like I said, is what they've been
They
doing.
tend to do, yeah.
Or they could finally wake up and realize this one's going to backfire too. And maybe we need to explain to the audience, for those that might not know exactly what we're talking about, what is this rule change that the ATF is trying to propose here, right? What is it?
Oh, I think it's handy. So we kind of hit the high level, but if you guys are not familiar with the actual ins and outs, essentially what they've done is they've done what I call pulling the ATF. They've used the ability of the Senate Safer Communities Act to reinterpret what is actually a firearm dealer. Okay, so that has a lot of different ramifications, but essentially, if you qualify as a dealer, then now you have to run a background check. It's a backdoor way to do universal background checks by changing definitions on the front end. Now, it's something we've been seeing them do a lot. The part that's so powerful about this, and the reason that they're fighting this and that we left comments on this, if you sell a gun to somebody who is in your family member or who is a close associate of yours, if you make $1 in profit off of the price above the price you bought it for, you're now a dealer because you're in the dealing of business. And of course, that is not correct. That would be like me having a piece of gold and selling it for $1 more than I bought it for, and all of a sudden I'm a gold dealer.
Right. And keep in mind, folks, the other thing here is it's not just background checks. If you're dealing without a license, that's a felony in and of itself.
Oh, that's big time.
Right.
Yep.
So what they're trying to say is if you go out there and you buy guns and you go to the gun show and you trade and buy guns, and if they can show that you profited at all, you got more trade value for your gun than it was what you originally paid for. Anything, if they can show profit, then they can charge you with dealing without a license. And that's a serious crime to the ATF. So,
well, I mean, what isn't a serious crime to the ATF
right?
Like these
but
days?
I mean, it's not just like it's not just a slap on the wrist we're talking about here. This comes with serious jail time.
It does, and that's why, in my opinion, this is going to get in trouble the same way the other regulations have gotten in trouble. When you're talking about the frames and receivers, when you're talking about the pistol braces, when you're talking about reclassifying like triggers and pieces of metal as machine guns. Arbitrary and capricious is a very good description of what they're doing across the board. They've basically got the sandbox and they're determining who can do what by redefining what sand is. I mean, like it is just, it's kind of,
and then assigning stiff criminal penalties without an act of Congress. I mean, this is the same thing that they've been doing all along. They keep getting called on. But this one's particularly bad because think about this, folks. Let's say that this rule goes into effect. You know how many gun owners out there right now, millions upon millions of gun owners would have no idea this rule change happened. They have no idea what this rule change means. They just go out there and do what they've been doing for the last 30 years of their lives. And they go out to a gun show or whatever. They trade something, buy something, sell something. And next thing you know, they got a federal agent knocking on their door wanting to charge them with a federal crime. It's designed once again to intimidate you and keep you from exercising your rights. That's what this is about.
And you know what? What you just said kind of reminds me of something that you said prior when we were dealing with the pistol brace rule, right? Because you said the same thing about violating the NFA and the penalties of violating the NFA unknowingly, of when you bought something that was perfectly legal at the time, and now all of a sudden it's randomly changed, and now you're going to jail with a $250,000 fine. Right. I mean, like this is serious implications on. They're pulling a bait and switch on people. Is effectively what they're doing. And I think that's a very good way to say it. But listen to what these guys said, these 27 states. I've got two more things I want to hit, and then I'll show you the states that actually signed up for it. But this is number 4, Doctor. Quote, although longstanding regulations of large commercial enterprises that sell firearms might be consistent with the Second Amendment, as the Supreme Court decided in Heller, that is not what this proposed rule does. This proposed rule seeks to require a license of every individual who sells a firearm for anything the department sees as profit, to include currency, exchange of another firearm, or a service. And that speaks to your point of what you were just saying. Yeah. So they're going after the same things. And I think that's important. I really do. I think that's keeping consistent on this is why it's so massive. And this is the last piece that I wanted to tie in, and then I'll show you the states, because this kind of puts a button on what you were talking about. This is number 6. The Attorneys General, said the rule is unlawful on the Administrative Procedure Act. That should remind you of something, which instructs courts reviewing regulation to reverse any agency action shown to be arbitrary, capricious, and abuse of discretion, or otherwise not in accordance with the law, according to the Act's language. So Arbitrary and capricious just made another appearance. And the Administrative Procedure Act, Tim, the Administrative Procedure Act is what they're losing on with all of their other regulations. That's what they're getting hit on before. Like, that's just on injunctions.
Yeah.
That's something big. They did this well. They thought this through.
You know, it's to me, this one is, of all the rules that they've been messing with lately, this one is probably the scariest for just your average gun owner out there. Because, again, think about this. You know, I've been collecting firearms my entire life. And let's say I bought a gun 25 years ago. I can almost guarantee you with certainty that if I went to trade that gun for something else tomorrow, I would get trade value well above what I paid for it 25 years ago. Now, the question then becomes, are we going to adjust for inflation? I mean, how are they going to calculate profit, right? So this is such a muddied mess. It's not just the fact they're going to jam up gun owners that have no idea this new rule change took place, but the scenario I just gave you, and that's just one of 10,000 you could possibly come up with, where people are going to get jammed up and you're going to have a billion questions around, well, how do you calculate this? How do you know that this is actually a profit, right?
Right. Well, you know what happens then. See the IRS form 77J3465411113, which gives you the calculation, which you then apply, and you come back to ATF form 81195789455.
Right.
It's like,
and I couldn't.
I hate all of you.
I couldn't tell you what I paid for a Browning High Power 30 years ago. I don't know what I paid for it back then. I don't have receipts for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just opens the door to so much nonsense, but the nonsense carries criminal penalty.
It does.
And that's where this is so dangerous.
I can see it now, Tim. You're like, oh, this is a Browning High Point from 30 years ago. I $25, a spare wheel, and a piece of jerky.
Yeah.
Barter was all the rage back then.
And, quick repair to my wagon wheel, and
yeah, exactly. It was a good time back on the Wild West. It was a different time.
The old bartering days, yeah.
But that's a different story. That has elements of cancellation. Anyway, I think that's a great way to wrap that segment, because now, Tim, the moment we've been waiting for, as we go into the next segment, we have some sparring on the Senate. There's going to be a little bit, I'm going to be honest, this has everything. This has all the things you're looking for, Tim, in a great segment. This has got things that are going to make your blood shoot out of your eyes. It's got things that are going to make you smile ear to ear because you're so proud. And really, it just, there's a lot here, and I'm excited.
So enough with the build-up. Let's hear this stuff.
No, I've got to build it up more. I'm just kidding. All right, do you want to hear Mike Lee first, or you want to hear Chris Murphy? What do you want? This is a choose your own adventure.
Let's go with your favorite person.
Chris Murphy?
Yes.
Oh, he's not my favorite. Okay, Dr. Button Pusher, hit number 9.
But you knew who I was talking about.
And the reason is the criminals are going online and going to the gun store and going to the gun shows because they know they will fail the background check if they go to a bricks and mortar store. That's what Seth Ator did. He failed a background check when he tried to purchase a gun in 2014, but he went to a private seller online, he bought a gun, and then he used it to kill 7 people and wound 25 others in a mass shooting in Odessa. This is not theoretical. This happens. How do you think all these guns get into our cities? It's because the criminal traffickers who have serious criminal records, who can't buy guns at a bricks and mortar store, go to a state that doesn't have universal checks. The criminals, the traffickers, buy the guns online or at a gun show, and then they drive them up to Hartford, Connecticut, and they sell them on the black market.
This is the typical shtick of the anti-gunners. Basically, what they want to do, obviously, is shut down private sales of property that you legally own that's constitutionally protected. And so they're going to use this as an example as to why we need to basically crack down on everybody, make everybody a dealer, apparently, because this will stop the criminal gang members from taking stolen guns and selling them to other criminals.
That's weird, isn't it?
It's almost like the notion that they put forth, during this last vote on the 3 bills in the Senate, the unanimous consent bills. If we saw all these leftists out there saying, well, if we just would have had these 3 bills passed, the world would have been a better place. But the obstructionist Republicans yet again stopped common sense gun reform. Really, and this is the point I made then, we have 20,000 gun laws on the books, and you're telling me 20,003 would magically solve the problem of violent crime in America. And yet here, and they're using these wild examples that they're fabricating. And has it happened? Sure. But there's all sorts of things. Look, the reality of where we are in the world is bad things happen. You can't stop everybody from being, that wants to be a criminal from being a criminal. You can't, things going to happen. People are going to die either accidentally on purpose, or always going to have murder and evildoers. The problem isn't inanimate objects. The problem are the criminals. So you don't go after the guns. You go after people running them.
Correct.
Right? But they never talk about the criminal. It's always about the inanimate object.
Right. And so that is a very good segue into the next thing that
and by the way, they already have laws against that.
Oh, 100%.
But they're not enforcing.
That's exactly right.
But they want to take your rights away because they don't want to enforce the laws they already have.
That's where I was going, precisely. So the thing that bothers me about this, and I mean, obviously it's Chris Murphy, so it all bothers me. Because I'll be honest, I'm pretty even keel, but he really gets my goat. I'm going to say it, Tim. He does. I said right here on the internet. He does. So the thing that really kills me is this is the exact same guy who wants to put universal background checks in place. He wants to have the ATF in charge of those universal background checks. Meanwhile, the ATF is knowingly and fully aware of doing nothing with all of the criminal trafficking and gun rings that are going to the Mexican cartels. They know about it. They've defunded it. They aren't doing anything about it. Meanwhile, blaming all of that on us as the American citizens. And then Chris Murphy's out here talking about the fact that, well, criminals are violating existing gun control laws in these cities. And it's not the gun control's fault. We need more gun control because we didn't have enough gun control. If we only had a little bit more gun control, the criminals wouldn't break those gun control. It's like, what point are you trying to prove?
They're breaking that law, but they're not going to break this one, folks.
Exactly. And I'm just like, your argument is that criminals are breaking your existing laws. That's why your laws are failing in your states, because the laws exist. They're already on the books. So they're just failing. But they're failing because the other states, not because the criminals. And all of a sudden, when you get more laws that are just like the ones they're breaking in your states, all of a sudden the criminals are going to stop and behave down in different states because, after all, this is really a gun problem. This is not a criminal problem. And I'm like,
and this
what?
This goes to a point that I've always made, right? It's this incrementalism. They know that if they would have passed those 3 laws under unanimous consent the other day, if this ATF rule goes forward, it's not going to change anything. And they know that. Right. And so it's just, like I said, we already have 20-some thousand laws on the books, and they just keep advocating for more laws. Why? Because the laws aren't effective. And even when they do pass these laws, they rarely enforce them. Why don't they enforce them? Because they want the chaos. This is another narrative I talk about. They need the chaos to push forward their agenda. So this is this self-fulfilling prophecy, and it doesn't end, folks, until they just confiscate everything. Because when this doesn't work, let's say that this rule change happens, it doesn't change a darn thing, doesn't get struck down by the courts, it goes forward, and the outcome is not changed. What are they going to do? Do you think they're going to stop? Go, you know what, guys, you were right. We're done.
We're right.
No, they're going to propose something else, and they're going to keep doing that. I mean, like I said, 20,000 laws already on the books, and we're still playing this game of stupid.
That's such a good way to say that. But anyway. That was Christmas. See, I told you your blood pressure. It was blood was gonna boop, but it's okay. It's okay, Tim. It did. And we were right, but we knew it. We knew it going in, and we do it for the people of the Second Legacy. But now we bring the joy and the truth that is Mike Lee. This will make you smile. This is the part that'll make you happy. So this is number 13, Doctor.
Now, it's here that we arrive at the true purpose, or at least the true inevitable outcome of this legislation were it to become law. Universal background checks only work when you have a national gun registry. This bill would require a registry, even though, and notwithstanding the legitimate policy concerns embraced by Congress when Congress prohibited the creation of such a registry in the Firearms Owners Protection Act.
Checkmate. That's all you need to say. You can throw all the emotion, you can throw all the rhetoric at it you want. You literally, all you got to say is that right there. It's like, well, it's quite clear this is not possible without a registry, which violates existing laws. So what you say about that?
In a discussion, I know, right?
Right. Like it's so easy. It's just
bailiff, whack his pee-pee.
Thank you, Doctor. That was a well-timed judge. I appreciate that. But I mean, that's essentially right. He's not wrong. The doctor is in, and he is correct. That's a very calm, very chill way of whacking his pee-pee.
Yes. But he's absolutely right. And in the discussion, next agenda item, folks.
Exactly.
Yeah. But they're not going to quit with the rule changes. They're not going to quit with the proposed laws. And it's just going to continue. And it will always continue until they get what they ultimately want, which is complete ban and confiscation. So anyway.
Right. But I mean, if you think back to everything that we've seen in this entire segment we've covered this week, you had Cory Booker going off on this emotional rhetoric, which made no sense, which said inaction is complicity. You got Chris Murphy saying all of these things. You've got all these different leftists who are literally only chasing talking points and video clips. All the while, Mike Lee's like, yeah, I don't need any of that. You're just wrong and dumb. It's just, I personally
to make this work, we're going to have to pay Adobe less to make the database searchable.
Oh my God. Dude, that's exactly right. Well, we have one more clip from Mike Lee because we had to put a little sugar on top here, and then we're going to go to the G3, and I'm so excited for this G3. Let's get number 14.
However, the ATF has already compiled a database with over 920 million records, a direct challenge to both the letter and spirit of the Firearm Owners Protection Act and Public Law 11255. Let's not compound the problem created by the ATF's illegal and constitutionally problematic registry by enacting a law that cannot be enforced without the creation of a national gun registry.
I love that so much. I love that so much. Anytime you have an ATF syrup drop right on top of a pancake of delicious, I mean, bro, that he says it so concisely and clearly. And the thing that he did there, he laid out the entire thing of, well, this violates a national registry, and you can't do that.
I have a question.
I'm
sorry. Go ahead. It just popped in my head. It just my mouth ran. Please.
No, you will forget. No, you will forget. I will remember that. You'll forget. You go.
I will forget.
You get it in here.
My question to the audience is this: how many of you guys out there, big into databases, big into technology and stuff like that? You're like a system administrator. You design and build databases. I'm curious. With almost 1 billion records, is Adobe really the best database to manage that volume of records?
Government, man. It's the government.
Just let us know in the comments below, because I really want to know. Anyway.
You can't bring Cisco into this. Anyway, I continue, sir.
It would be funny to find out. It's like, well, yeah, it couldn't handle that many records. Why would they use Adobe? I don't know. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You know what? It's okay. No, it's okay. It's okay. I felt like we built up a little bit more there with the anticipation. But yeah, no, I love what he did. I love how he built hey, this is not possible without a registry. Registry is not possible under this existing law. So you're violating the law by even your idea, because it can't happen. It's a failed idea. And then he brings in the ATF. And like, oh, by the way, since we're talking about registries that are illegal, did you guys know that the ATF has 950 million searchable or non-searchable records? Also, by the way, violating the law existing. It's weird how you guys built this little infrastructure that's all violating the law. It's odd. It's strange.
It'd be interesting to see how this plays out, because as they often do, they'll just ignore his comments and like, okay, thank you. All right, let's pass this.
No, they do. Yeah. No, they do.
Yes, it's illegal. We passed it.
It is. But what makes me, they didn't pass it. They failed.
No, but yeah, I'm making a joke. Should they pass it? Right?
No,
it's like,
yes. No jokes for you, sir, because it's G3. Well done, Doctor. That's a fantastic way to end that segment. And with this, Tim, it's time for G3. I've been waiting for this since you texted it to me last night. Yeah, and I'm here. Take the wheel.
This one's unbelievable, folks. I know your first reaction is going to be, there's no way this isn't a parody account. So I did some digging, and if you go back and look at this person's other tweets, going back in time, considerable distance, there's no evidence that this person has a parody account. This is a real person that posted this. And then you go and look at the discussions under the post that they made, and you're going to see that they're trying to defend it. Okay, so this is legit. All right, so I think, we don't know, but every indication,
we're 94% sure.
Yeah, I mean, as much digging as I could do before I repost this on Twitter, I did. So anyway, let's throw up number 10, Doc. And so this is from a goofy gun grabber, and if you take a look at her little icons there, this is always fun for me. I try to decipher the icons on Twitter. So you have the two little orange squares. Those are Davy Hogg, ban every gun made icons. Then you have the two blue squares. I'm going to say that's for the Democrat Party. She's clearly espousing her affinity for the Democrats. And then in the middle, we have blue waves saying there should be a blue wave in 24. Right. Did I do good? Did I figure this out?
You did. You done good. You deciphered the Mayan code that is Twitter. You did great.
Leftist hieroglyphics, dude. We're trying to learn this, because I'm sure they're communicating with each other. So anyway, so if you go down to her actual post, now maybe you guys remember a video that went around. Grand Thumb did a really cool slow motion video where he fired an artillery round at a ballistics dummy and blew it up. Okay. And you can even, in the slow motion is so slow, you can actually see the size of the round flying through the dummy. Okay. And people were jokingly posting it all over the internet. I saw it everywhere. Basically a meme saying, look at the incredible destructive power of the AR-15.
Right.
Well, this simpleton believed it. Okay, so she made this post. 90% of Americans want gun control. Maybe this video will make it clear why weapons like the AR-15 should be banned and taken out of our streets. What do you think? If your child gets shot with an AR-15, do you think any amount of medical care will be able to save him, her? And you think, okay, look, that's got to be a joke. That's got to be a joke. There's no way. So like I said, went through, and people immediately started calling her on it. Let's go ahead, Doc, if you could play number 11, let's just show the audience the entire video. This is really an interesting video. Wow. You can see the little cannon shell flying through the body there. A little bit bigger than 5.56.
A little bit, just a smidgen. It looks like one of those big bullets in Mario is what it looks like with the faces and the mean face. So as you can imagine, an amazing conversation ensued in this thread. And what I found interesting of well over 1,000 posts was that people were calling her on this. She continued to try to defend the position. So if we throw up number 12, she doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down, number 12. But when an AR-15 round typically hits you, it makes that small entry wound, but then inside it creates this shock wave, this blasting pattern that blows out the backside of people, causes internal injuries, and it's just devastating. It makes it very effective for military weapon, but it's horrific when you see these in civilians. It's not horrific when you see one in a soldier. I'm not sure. Anyway, so English may not be her first language, but so here she is. And clearly you can see that she's read about the media propaganda of how destructive the AR-15 round is. It's incredibly destructive, totally ignoring the fact that it's actually an intermediate cartridge designed and developed to kill small varmint that was repurposed into a military cartridge to be used by militaries around the world because it was low recoil and of intermediate power. It wasn't because it was a death ray. But clearly she thinks it's a death ray. Or it was the Mario bullet.
Right? Or the Mario bullet. It does look like the Mario, but just put a little face on it.
I bet you Dr. Button Pusher can do that. I bet you he can do one with a face. That's a challenge. Eyes and face.
We'll see. But yeah, if you want to check this out, I mean, you guys tell me. You can see her Twitter link there. Just pop over there, go through her feed, and tell me if you think that she's joking, if this is a parody account, because there's no indication there is, or do you think she's being serious and she got duped by a meme? Let us know in the comments down below. All right, folks, hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon.